Hi everyone, thank you for joining our session. Welcome to episode 2 of LeadSquared's Fintech Week. For the people who had not joined yesterday, hi, welcome. My name is Karthika and I'll be your host for the day. So, today we have a very exciting session. Definitely a topic that a lot of us are curious about. I know I am. We will be discussing scaling crypto businesses faster in 2022. So yes, before we get to the speaker introduction, I see that Manish is facing a little bit of issues. So by the time he comes back, I will go through the agenda real quickly. So the agenda for today is we will be discussing emerging trends and products in crypto 2022, evolving channels of customer acquisition, scaling your business faster and building a seamless journey, and the next step in digital acquisition for crypto. So this is the agenda. Now, let me introduce our wonderful speakers for the session. Joining me today, we have Mr. Minal, who is the EVP of Growth and Strategy at CoinDCX. Mr. Minal, thank you so much for joining us. Please tell us a little bit about you and your journey so far.
Sure, it's great to be here, Kartika, and thanks again for having me. Really looking forward to interacting with the audience here. Yeah, so a quick background about myself. I am an engineer turned entrepreneur. Have been active in the startup space in India for almost a decade now in some capacity. I think it's been a great time to be part of the Indian startup ecosystem. Very specific to crypto, I've been professionally active in the space for the last 4 years. I think this all started when one of my friends, who is sort of a technologist, introduced myself to Bitcoin and Ethereum. This is 5 years back. And it took me a little while to understand the potential of the space and what crypto can mean to our future. But yeah, since the last 4 years, I've never looked back. I've been an early team member at CoinDCX as well, and I today lead growth strategy and analytics functions at CoinDCX.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Manal. We also have Mr. Manish, who is the Associate Director of Sales here at LeadSquared. Manish, please tell us a bit about you.
Yeah, thank you, Karthika, and welcome Minal on this forum. So, I bring close to 13 years of experience working with multiple organizations. I started my career with Infosys, then worked with TCS, then a couple of startups, Zing HR, then back to Oracle, and now with LeadSquare from last 4 pandemic, and it has been a great journey so far with LeadSquare. Uh, as everyone in India is curious either on two things, either it is a crypto or a stock market. I have also invested in crypto and I have been investing since 2017. Though I have not used CoinDCX as a platform, I have used BayuCoin and WazirX, and I would be keen to learn more from Minal. I mean, what are the trends, how it is moving, and how these regulations will be affecting us. We have seen a lot of ups and down in crypto market, especially from a regulatory point of view in India, from 16, 17, and now with these new regulations coming in. So I would be keen to learn more
Okay, I think that yeah. Yes, yes. Manish, I think Manish's connection is a little sketchy today, but nevertheless, before I hand the session over to the speakers, I have a small message to all the audience here. We do have a question tab. You can see it to the right side corner of your screen. So throughout the session, whatever questions you have, please do put it over there. We will take it up towards the end of the session. And also, we'll be putting up a couple of polls. This is just for our team to know you better, know the audience better. So, yeah, please do interact with all the polls that we're going to set up. That is all. So, with that, I will hand the session over to our wonderful speakers. Manish, please take it forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kartika, and welcome everyone once again. Welcome everyone, and welcome Minal. So I have seen that you have been on this crypto seminars, and you were part of one of the seminars last week also in Bombay.
Hmm.
So just to take this session forward, like you to speak on what are the trends that we will be seeing in the crypto market in 2022, and how these trends will help players like you and other players from India market.
Sure. Sure, Manish. I think to sort of, before start talking about 2022, I would love to sort of, take the audience through uh, a very quick brief of what has happened in the crypto for the last decade, right? So I would sort of structure this in two part. Would love to sort of cover a brief history and then maybe talk about how crypto can potentially evolve from here. I think the entire journey of crypto started with the advent of Bitcoin back in 2009, where an anonymous um, person named Satoshi Nakamoto released a white paper, right? And I think that was the first sort of cryptocurrency where blockchain was used as a fundamental technology, and an application was sort of realized, right? And I think if we look at the history of Bitcoin, it's been more than a decade, about 12 years running, and it has been one of the most stable decentralized networks that we have ever sort of came across. I think that was a key sort of moment, of course, in the history of the crypto. And a lot of adoption initially was primarily sort of across Western countries, more developed countries, and there's a lot of mining happening in Russia, China as well. I think the revolution of crypto in India, more specifically, I would say started in the mid 2010s, right? Maybe around 2015 or so, which is where you had like a few hundred from literally across the country who are somehow active in the space. Um, and post that sort of came, in a very sort of a key second phase in crypto, which was sort of very coinciding with the entire bull market of 17 as well, was the advent of Ethereum, right? So if you see, Bitcoin is more of a fundamental blockchain, which is more built for a payment or a digital asset use case. What Ethereum did was it opened up the entire blockchain ecosystem to everybody, where on top of that, anybody can now build an application, a decentralized application, and they don't have to go through, building the complete blockchain by themselves. And post which we are seeing a lot of new trends emerging in this space, be it DeFi, be it NFTs. So a lot is happening primarily because the advent of this Ethereum and very similar other protocols. I think moving forward, we will continue to see a lot happening in the decentralized finance space, where a lot of global decentralized applications would be built, which will be borderless, right? So imagine um, you doing fixed deposits on crypto, you taking loans in crypto through decentralized applications at a global scale. All the exchange that happens between the crypto to crypto layer can sort of become decentralized, and so on and so forth. So DeFi will continue to be, I think, a key growing area. And I think one of the fundamental problems that entrepreneurs in crypto are solving is how do we scale blockchains more, right? So I think how can we do more transactions per second, keeping the decentralization layer intact on Ethereum. That is where, let's say, the likes of Matic are getting bought, right? So I think in that protocol space, we are also seeing a lot of participation from Indian entrepreneurs who are contributing at a global scale, and that is a trend which I think we'll continue to see. So the Indian blockchain space, from a technology point of view, rather than just investment point of view, will also become quite mature. And lastly, I think we will continue to see more adoption of crypto in the country, as a regulatory scenario sort of improves. The likes of CoinDCX and similar products out there, simplifying investing and buying, selling, and trading of cryptos, and expose the entire sort of interested audience in crypto to more products. I think the adoption will just continue to grow from here. Yeah, these are sort of broadly,
Yeah.
Manish, a few trends that I'm broadly looking forward to. Would love to dig deep and talk more about any of those.
Yeah, rightly said. I mean, I have also seen certain articles showing that coins like DentaCoin is accepted by dentists these days in Pune, and I mean, and we have heard about uh, the Tesla accepting Dogecoin and the Dogecoin going up during that period. So we have seen these trends in the market where people have now started accepting, and there are certain transactions which is happening over these
Right.
blockchains and cryptos which is built. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, so I think that is the
So
other trend which I have also heard about, Manish. Right? I think we will continue to see a lot of institutional adoption, not just in global markets, but maybe in Indian markets as well. Retail adoption is something which we have been seeing to sort of grow exponentially, right? I think at CoinDCX itself, now we are potentially in the range of about 15 million users, about 80 to 90% of them which we have acquired over the last year itself, right? So we'll see a lot of new investment products coming into crypto as well, be it SIPs in crypto, be it interest deposits in crypto, and so on and so forth.
yeah. So from last years, we have seen in BFSI sector due to this COVID, and there has been a lot of acquisition of customer via digital channels. So crypto also going in the same manner, or have you been following the same digital acquisition channel for acquiring customers?
So if I understand the question correctly, Manish, you wanted to sort of understand how user acquisition channels and the trend around has been shaping up in the crypto industry for the last few years. Um, Manish, can you hear me?
Yeah, right.
Yes, I'm sure. I think Manish is facing a little bit of trouble, but Mr. Minal, if you could just
Sure.
continue with the question. Yes.
Sure. So I think, yeah, I will broadly talk about how customer acquisition and the channels of customer acquisition have sort of um, evolved in the crypto space, and how does the trend might look like as we move forward. So I think when we at CoinDCX or broadly in the crypto industry, when we think about acquisition channels, there are 3 to 4 broad channels that we're talking about. First is of course marketing, which covers all your performance marketing engagements, on your influencer marketing engagements. Then you have your organic acquisition, which is primarily because you have a good brand, because you have good maybe content out there. People who are interested in crypto sort of organically discover your apps or products. And third is of course referral marketing. Uh, this is sort of a channel which has grown significantly for us in the recent past. So yeah, maybe sort of quickly cover quick trends around each of these. I think one of the key challenges that crypto players face in the industry is that um, in the performance marketing bucket, we do not have access to Google and Facebook, right? Which typically would be, let's say, the 80% of investment any performance marketing team would be do when it comes to user acquisition. So we really had to innovate. We really had to sort of experiment a lot, figure out other avenues through which we can go about doing user acquisition through performance marketing. And I think be it doing deeper engagements with influencers, figuring out new channels like brand alliances, or even working with high quality affiliates. I think that has been a huge contributor to our user acquisition overall in the past few quarters. Organic, I think the great part about crypto is that uh, when we think about organic as a channel, when we sort of tend to think that we are not just producing content, or we are not just sort of writing blogs and stuff to sort of spread awareness about our products, but also create the industry, right? Educate people about crypto, educate people about what is crypto, what is Bitcoin, how can they think about investments in crypto, and so on and so forth. So I think a lot of content marketing, right, where we talk about, we educate people about crypto via our initiative called DCX Learn, or we talk about investment strategies that you can use in crypto, or we talk about, you know, more details about a particular token, right, as to uh, what are the fundamentals beyond that. So I think those sort of content pieces really help us, and then acquiring users via organic channels. And I think last but not the least, and I think one of the very most important channels in crypto, I think trust is super important, right? Every new person getting into crypto would typically ask their friend, right? Like, where should I invest? कौन सा product use करूँ and stuff like that, right? And which is where the entire peer-to-peer sort of layer comes into crypto. And today, with a very simple to understand referral program, we have been able to reach a state where um, about 40% of our acquisition today happens just via our referral program, right? So I think this is the trend we have been seeing, and I think moving forward, we would continue to see good growth in our organic channels and our referral channels. And I think the new channel that we are now building with some positive sort of regulatory aspects and some bylaws around taxation, we are seeing that there is a huge interest in the entire equity segment of traders and investors, right? Which is where we are trying to tap into sub-broker networks, which are already existent in the equity space, and that's where we have partnered with LeadSquared as well.
Great. I mean, that's good to hear. I mean, if you allow, we have a question from one of our participant, Mr. Raja. So the question is basically, how will the crypto space in India evolve when CBDC is in place, particularly other crypto coins and crypto exchanges come into play?
Sure. To be honest, I think in terms of an industry trend, I think CBDC is a great initiative. It's sort of for the broader crypto industry and the community. I think it really uh, really sort of is a strong narrative, right? When maybe RBI or SEBI or any sort of parliamentary body or any regulatory body which might have the ownership around launching and controlling CBDC, if they come out and sort of use blockchain to launch a central bank digital currency, I think that would be great for the ecosystem overall, because it shows that there is huge interest from the government also when it comes to driving applications on blockchain uh, in the crypto space. In terms of how the ecosystem will change, to be honest, I do not foresee a huge change. The whole sort of agenda around that would be that 95% of payments in India are already digital, right? With the advent of UPI, huge transactions in India are already digital. I think the remaining 5 to 7% is something which we will definitely see getting digitized with the advent of CBDC as well. What potentially CBDC can do and can be sort of a potential game changer for the ecosystem would be if the interaction between the CBDC, let's call it digital rupee for a bit, if that digital rupee or that CBDC that can interact with the entire crypto ecosystem, right, which is completely borderless and globalless, of course, completely global in its own sense. I think that will open up a lot of new opportunities, right? So imagine, you purchasing NFTs with digital rupee. Imagine you participating in metaverse networks within digital rupee, right? So it a lot depends on how government sort of shapes it. But I think if the digital rupee or the CBDC can interact closely with the entire crypto ecosystem, exchanges can allow buying, selling of it. I think the opportunities for digital rupee will be very broad.
I hope that
Great.
answers the question, Mr. Raja. Manish, you can continue with the conversation. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's good to hear, Minal, on both trends and how these new regulations will help. So I am just curious. I mean, are you people uh, just putting up and restricting yourself to India market, or do you see yourself going to global markets and acquiring more customers from global markets also? I mean, since we have seen that countries like China are banning all kind of cryptos, and they promote only cryptos from their own country. So how do you see this as a challenge?
Um, Honestly, Manish, I mean, if you would have asked me this question a few years back, my answer would have been yes, we are looking at Indian and even global markets. But honestly, I think in the last, especially in the last 1 to 1.5 years, I think the regulatory scenario and the entire sentiment of cryptos in India has evolved brilliantly. And I think with the recent taxation and TDS laws coming into play, where the government has recognized cryptocurrencies as VDAs or virtual digital assets. I think the entire speculation of a probable ban on crypto or cryptos staying legally neutral or illegal is completely clear. Um, so at at some level, clearly now crypto is a legal tender in the country. And of course, there are a lot of advancements which need to be done in terms of a formal crypto bill being passed, which sort of takes care of all potential use cases of crypto. But I think we are in great shape to do. So as a company, we are of course an Indian company with global aspirations. But today, as an organization, Manish, to answer your question, we are very, very focused on the crypto Indian market itself. Today, the adoption of crypto in the country is sitting at about a few tens of millions of users. Um, I think with one of the biggest internet bases in the country, upwards of 600 million internet and mobile users. I think the scope of or the extent to which crypto can sort of grow in India is phenomenal. And I can easily see that the crypto adoption can potentially reach to hundreds of millions of users within the next few years. And the current positioning that we have, we would not want to sort of lose upon that opportunity. And yeah, so the primary focus remains to sort of keep doubling down our efforts on the country. Uh, that is the plan in the short term.
That's good to hear for Indian customers and Indian market that your people like CoinDCX and other exchanges are more focused on Indian market rather than going out and acquiring more customers from other geographies. So I was just curious. I mean, other than blockchain, what are the other technology piece which comes into when you go and set up all these exchanges, and how do you and when you go about acquiring customers, and what role does a CRM player like LeadSquare play in your whole IT ecosystem?
Sure. Um, so I think building an exchange or building a product which sort of simplifies crypto is a completely new topic which we can talk about for maybe hours. But I think very fundamentally speaking, um, you really need to think technology and product first, right? Because you need scalable systems, you need a very strong technology infrastructure, which can really handle high throughput order books, where potentially millions of users might be trading on a daily or a monthly basis. So you need a very strong technology infrastructure and a very secure one as well, right? Because as an exchange, you are always prone to sort of hackers across the world trying to attempt some loophole in your system. So you need to be very uh, you need to have a dedicated effort on the security front, and you need to be very secure on that front. Then I think in the sort of entire unregulated scenario, it is important to have a strong self-regulatory framework around legal and compliance, because in the long run, I think it is important that we do business in the crypto world in the right way. So that's, I think, the sort of the core of it. And then when it comes to thinking about growth and user acquisition, uh, I think a couple of frameworks to think about. One is, of course, um, because most of the crypto products out there would be small teams at early stages, still trying to sort of build their teams, but they would want to grow fast, right? So I think to sort of align the entire efforts across the organization, we use this framework called the North Star framework in growth, which basically is that this one metric that the entire company is focusing on, and that is a strategy which has worked brilliantly for us. So we define that one metric, and we make sure that our marketing teams, growth team, product teams, even the efforts of the engineering teams are sort of directly and indirectly impacting this one metric that as a company we are focusing on, and that just helps us align all the efforts, because resources are very key in a sort of a growing startup like us. And second, to your specific question, Manish, around how do we sort of use LeadSquared, I think LeadSquared, along with other marketing automation tools that we use to engage with our customers, I think LeadSquared primarily comes in handy with one of the key or one of the complete sort of acquisition channels that we have been working upon for the last few quarters, which is the entire sales channel or the sub broker channel that I was talking about. All the way from helping these partners um, sort of create accounts on CoinDCX, or let's say affiliate accounts on CoinDCX, to getting transparency on how many users and how many traders they have acquired, what is the sort of indirect and direct brokerage that they are generating through the customers that they are acquiring, and sort of providing that full stack dashboard really helps us in building a very transparent sub-broker program with these partners that we work with, right? And beyond that, I think once you have these partners onboarded, LeadSquared also allows us to engage with these customers that have been acquired by this time, right? Um, be in terms of enabling people to understanding how to make deposits, how to do KYCs, how to get started in crypto. I think we can also use the capabilities. We also use the capabilities of LeadSquared to engage with those customers, right? So primarily, I think creating a transparent sub-broker referral program, and then building marketing automation journeys or CRM journeys with the customers that have been acquired through the sales of the sub-broker channel. That's how we primarily sort of use LeadSquared.
Yeah, that's really good to hear that LeadSquare is playing role in crypto market also, and we have customers like you who have been leveraging it to acquire more and more customers and brokers. Other than our predominant BFSI sector, which where we see these kind of brokerage houses coming into play. I mean, we
Yeah,
have one more question. I mean, let me just okay. So again, the question is from Mr. Raja only. So the question is basically, uh, while the Indian market is large, how do you mitigate the regulatory risk and operating in a specific geography? As a current regulatory stance by our Indian government can go either the China way or the US way.
sure. Just give me a minute to read through this. How do you mitigate? Sure. So, I think, I mean, as a business, we are definitely, this might be sort of, getting too much finer details of the business. But I think broadly to answer your question, Kartika, yes, we are sort of hedged as a business. So if you think of the entire crypto ecosystem, there are primarily two exchange layers. One is your crypto INR exchange, which is where Indians can buy and sell and trade cryptocurrencies with INR. But at the same time, you have this entire broad global layer of crypto to crypto trading, where trading actually happens without the interaction with fiat. So these are USDT markets, these are Bitcoin markets, these are Ethereum markets. So we have a lot of product suite which are completely in this crypto to crypto market space, and we offer it to global traders, right? And as we speak about it, a small percentage of our user base is already global, which have been completely or acquired organically. So we do have a business in parallel, which is sort of can potentially cater to a bigger sort of global trader base, I would say. With respect to Indian regulations, I think one thing which is very clear, which I was also mentioning about, I think with taxation, of course, we can argue about the taxes being high, and we are having a very open dialogue, and we are contesting the government in terms of these numbers being a lot on the higher side, both on TDS and individual capital gain taxes. But I think it's a very positive step, right? And what it definitely confirms, as I was mentioning again, that the government has recognized cryptocurrencies as a legal tender in terms of recognizing virtual digital assets as the cryptocurrency sort of nomenclature in the books of the government. And I think that definitely sort of clears the entire air around a potential ban in crypto. So yes, we are quite positive about of course a lot depends on how and when the crypto bill will be released and what will the crypto bill contain. But we hope that it will be forward looking, and enable more positive developments in the industry, as have been the case for the last few quarters or last couple of years.
I hope that answers your query, Mr. Raja. Yeah. Okay. So I was just curious to know. I mean, since you talked about in the beginning that the market is shaping up and we have coming up with more and more of SIPs and other stuff. So do you see large brokerage houses like ICICI or other brokerage houses coming up and selling or promoting these SIPs for crypto on their platform also? Or do you see any kind of uh,
Yeah,
uh,
definitely.
and do you see in
Sorry,
future
Manish, I'll let you complete.
will these, yeah, do you see also see any kind of exchange between you and these large brokerage houses or banking tying up and selling as a one product?
Sure. I think this is an interesting question and a very sort of interesting trend or something to look forward to in this space, right? Because you have these established brands like ICICI Securities, HDFC Securities, which cater to a lot of traditional sort of segment in India, and then you have these new age sort of discount brokers like Zerodha, Grow Up Stocks. Um, I think before sort of maybe getting into launching products around SIP, etc. for crypto, I think what these businesses will have to sort of take a call on is uh, do they want to launch crypto to their user base? If yes, when? Right. I think for most of the people, the answer is yes already. I think it's all about time as to when they would want to launch, right? So I think from our sort of conversations and our understanding in this space, I think there are primarily two views. Um, a few brokers or a few partners might be looking at sort of getting going live with crypto within the next few months because crypto offerings to their users because there is definitely some clarity with the taxation bill coming out. A few of them are still sort of taking that wait and watch approach. They might be prepared, but they would want to sort of wait for the entire regulatory framework of the crypto bill to come out before they actually started offering it to our users, to their users. Sorry. So I think there is definitely a lot of interest, and we see a huge potential in sort of partnering with these folks as we move forward as well. Because at the core of it, Manish, as we were talking about initially, CoinDCX is a crypto INR exchange, right? You can potentially think of us as the NSE of crypto, and we are day by day we are strengthening our core liquidity on the platform, and potentially these partners can leverage our API stack and this liquidity, very similar to how they do with NSE today, to offer crypto buying selling on their platforms as well.
Okay, that's good. I mean, that's an interesting fact that is coming out. I mean, you mentioned that within couple of months once these regulations are in place, we could see large brokers houses also coming and trading in
Yeah,
crypto
I
and
mean,
giving.
I'm not speaking from anyone for any business, but I think that is my opinion and that is my understanding of this space. From what the conversations have been happening in this space for the last few quarters.
I mean, that is a positive news for all of us. I mean, people will start believing more on cryptos, and
Yeah,
you will see people investing more in cryptos than these regular PPFs or Kisan Vikas Patra or those PM yojanas that is floating in market. I mean, at least the millenniums like us
that's right.
who are more keen to invest. I mean, definitely that is a good sign.
Yeah, I think that does um, a lot of. I think this is one also inside in the fintech ecosystem, right? Like once you start using a product, you sort of typically stick to that product for a long amount of time, right? You have your mutual fund portfolio sitting on a product for years or maybe decades, right? So I think with um, a lot of India or most of the India, I would say, is very comfortable there with the products or the partners that they work with, right? For example, Manish, you might be comfortable yourself with an ICICI security as a broker. Now, if they start offering cryptos to you as well, and of course you have the intent to invest or buy and sell, I think it just opens up a whole new um, base of investors, right? Which is around equity, store of value assets like gold or other commodities, and even potentially FDs, right? Which can which can get exposure to crypto via their existing comfort or partners that they work with.
Yeah. So we have one interesting question coming up from Nishchal. So it says, if crypto clicks in India, considering regulations are in favor, do you see this as one of the mode for venture capital funding for startups in years to come?
Interesting. Initial to answer your question, I think this is already happening. Um, Crypto is not just. I think crypto has been sort of picking for a decent amount in the India, I would say. But I think what we are seeing as a trend is the venture capital and angel investors in India are also getting super excited about the space and are looking at space at the space just beyond um, sort of doing research, right? We have seen investments happening both at slightly later stages and even early stage. Um, and I think day to day, because I have also spent a couple of years in the investment space working with Let's Venture sometime back in 2017, 18. So I have a lot of friends in the investment space. And, every 2 weeks, every month, I would sort of, have a friend who would be keen to understand more about what's happening in the crypto space. And some way or the other, where they are potentially exploring as to how they can start their investment journey within the crypto space, right? So I think the interest is huge, Vishal, and the crypto has been sort of doing great as an ecosystem, not just from a crypto adoption point of view, but entrepreneurs also building and solving for global blockchain and crypto problems. And I think a similar sort of trend is something that we are also seeing in venture capital funding and even early stage angel investment.
Yeah, I think that answers the query or the question raised by Nishchal. Okay, so I think it had been a good session. I mean, we have spoken and covered in length and breadth almost all the topics and agenda. I mean, if anything you want to add specifically, we are open. Else, we are open for question and answer session.
Um, okay, I'll take this forward. So, to the audience, yes, like Manish mentioned, please do post any questions that you have on the questions tab. Although I see one question on the chat actually, it's by Mr. Anand. He asks, what's the scope you see around crypto without registering on exchange? Manish or Minal,
Um,
take it. Yeah,
what's the scope you see around crypto without registering on the
on
exchange?
exchange.
I'm sorry, but I'm not able to understand the question. Anand, maybe can you elaborate a bit more
Yes.
on the chat?
Yeah, Mr. Anand, if you could just elaborate it a little more, that will be great. We can take it up. Although, yes, actually, okay, while Mr. Anand elaborates on that, I actually have a few questions that had come into us. Let me just fetch it. I'm really sorry. Um,
Sure.
Okay, so we have a question that had come in which asks, which age groups do you primarily see participating in crypto trading and investment, and going forward, how do you see these things changing?
Interesting. I think one of the biggest sort of areas where crypto has been seeing exponential adoption is the entire youth of the country. I think crypto, in its by its nature, where it is very digital first, is attracting the youth a lot. So a huge, I think the primary adoption, um, let's say from primarily around 2015, 14 to let's say late in 18, 19, would be in the age segment of about 25 to 34, primarily exposed in tier 1, tier 2 cities. In the last couple of years, we have primarily seen two more trends. One is the penetration within that 25 to 34 segment has gone deeper and has gone way beyond tier 2 cities, right? So we have now people actually coming and investing from tier 3, tier 4, even tier 5 cities. And the other big trend that we have been seeing is a lot more exposure in the sort of the Gen Z population, let's say below 24, and the age segment beyond 35, going up to till maybe 50, right? So I think both of these segments are also opening up and getting more comfortable with the space. And I think this is where we will see a lot of more adoption happening in the years to come also, right? Be it you are Gen Z population, which is very little first, or the new or the sort of equity investors, people who have been in investing in asset classes for years or maybe decades. As they get more comfortable with the regulatory environment and taxation laws coming out, everybody who's sort of on the fence would start exposing at least a small percentage of their wealth in crypto. And lastly, to add, I think if I sort of look back at the numbers 2 years back, we had about 10% of female investors. In the last 2 years, that number has gone up to even 20-25%, right? So I think we are seeing a huge interest or a huge uptick in the total sort of female population which has adopted crypto as well.
That's
I
amazing to
hope that
hear.
answers Kartika.
That's really good. Great, I mean.
Yeah. Okay, we have another question from Nischil. So I will take that up. Do you see UPI syncing with crypto wallets in the future besides other modes of payment?
Do I see UPI syncing with crypto wallets besides other modes of payment? Definitely. I think UPI is sort of the universal layer when it comes to, or the most convenient, I would say, payment method when it comes to going about peer transactions or even depositing money anywhere. Um, I think what we will definitely have UPI as sort of a very stable option when it comes to INR deposits and withdrawals, so that people can ultimately buy and sell using uh, those INR once they deposit by UPI. But I think it is all about government may be coming out with a more clear regulatory framework termed as the crypto bill for now, and sort of making the existing and the underlying banks more comfortable. Right? So if the core of the financial ecosystem are these banks, and if these banks are comfortable to get into crypto, be it net banking, be it UPI, be it deposits, all the payment deposit methods will automatically open up in a more stabler form. Not to say that they are not available today, but I think they will open up in a more stabler and a more uh, sort of normal form, very similar to how we sort of do deposits at maybe a Grow or maybe a ICICI Security or a Zerodha. I think we will reach there as we continue to gather more regulatory clarity.
Okay. Yes, thank you. I hope that answers the question. I see that Mr. Anand has explained a little bit about his question. It's on the chat box. He is basically talking about the use case based crypto creation without registering on exchange.
Of course.
Organizations that are exploring to create wallets on crypto. Yeah.
Platform.
So,
So I think
Minal.
what Anand is sort of inclining towards is it's maybe the entire world beyond just buying, selling, and trading of cryptos, right? So I think as I was talking about, it is not just the crypto space, Anand, which is growing brilliantly in the country. It is also the entire blockchain ecosystem. We are seeing a lot of entrepreneurs, a few of my friends even, who have been founders of some other companies, are getting in and getting full time into crypto and trying to sort of solve more problems around NFT, create more fundamental protocols, or let's say other solutions, right, which help solve fundamental challenges around blockchain, be it the scalability of blockchains, be it improving the user experience, right? So a lot of us are not very comfortable using private key, public keys, and the entire sort of experience which comes around current wallets. How can we sort of simplify that experience of interacting with, let's say, an Ethereum wallet and sending Ethereum. If Minal wants to send Ethereum to Kartika, how can we simplify that, right? I think all those problems are being solved, and I think the core utility of tokens, right? That's the last point to add on. Is the core utility is not to build a token that can trade on exchange. I think that is the byproduct. The core utility to create a token is to empower your entire network, is to create an incentive layer which can incentivize all your stakeholders, be it miners, be it people using the service, be it nodes providing the service, right? How can you incentivize them is what the entire core of the token should be. I think registering on an exchange is always a byproduct, which can just help people have access to tokens in a more simpler fashion.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Anand, for asking that question and also elaborating so that the speakers could understand better. I hope that answers your question. So I have another question which had come to us through the email, and this is something that a lot of people would definitely want to know. Which is based. It's a very basic question. They ask, "What are the basic requirements to start trading in crypto?" It's something that a lot of people still don't know. So, Mr. Minal, if you could just elaborate on that.
Sure. So I think um, the first piece is all about I think understanding the fundamentals of crypto is very important. Understanding the assets that you invest into is very important. And so do not take investment decisions without understanding the potential of the space or the potential of crypto as an industry or the asset that you're investing in. I think the second most important piece is to always come in with a long-term view, right? Because by its nature, I think because crypto is just a small market, a sub $2 trillion market, which is uh, not very huge as compared to the global market caps of equity or even individual companies like Tesla or Microsoft for that matter. I think there is inherently a lot of volatility in this space, right? So the prices can go up and down real fast. So it is important to uh, sort of come in with a long-term view, a 3 year, a 4 year, 5 year view, rather than just thinking about making quick bucks in this space. And I think last is do not try and time the markets. Right? You cannot time markets. It is not just crypto which is volatile. Right? Equity markets are also very volatile. A lot of other markets are also volatile, and it is literally next to impossible, right, for you to time the markets. So I would say invest in a disciplined fashion, invest in a consistent fashion, right, where you're investing some amount every week, every month, every quarter, whatever your appetite is, and sort of keep doing it, for a long term, which will help you sort of bring down your average prices or normalize your average prices of buying, and I think will be one of the best strategy in the long term. Of course, this is not investment advice. This is sort of my opinion. But what I typically recommend my friends is to sort of potentially start with the top three, top five market cap coins, because that is where you have a lot of trust and a lot of confidence that because these networks have been running for more than a decade now, right? Like, for example, Bitcoin has been up for 12 years without failure. Ethereum has been up for more than 6, 7 years without failure. So start with these top market cap coins who have a great history in the space, and from then on, I think you can also start exposing a small percentage of your crypto wealth or crypto sort of portfolio to other high risk assets as well.
All right, thank you so much, Minal. We have another question by Nishchul. Manish, would you like to
Yeah,
relate that?
yeah.
Thank you.
So I think this is an interesting question. I mean, he wants to listen on how to measure the risk and returns in crypto finance market.
And sorry,
Finance
crypto.
market. More from an investing point of view.
Hmm. So as I was saying, right? So I think first and foremost, it is important to understand the fundamentals of a cryptocurrency. If you're new to cryptocurrency, um, as I said, just choose any cryptocurrencies which is among the top 20, top 25, or choose an exchange like CoinDCX, which has done some level of curation before listing the assets that are being traded on the exchange, right? So at CoinDCX, we all use this framework called the 7M framework. Now there are 15,000 cryptocurrencies which are present there, right? But on CoinDCX app, you can only buy and sell 100. So what we have done is we have built a 7M framework, and at an extent, we are not saying that we are curating or we are judging these cryptocurrencies or we are vetting these. We are just making sure that they are the potential to sort of get into malicious activities is the least, and that is sort of that can be a good starting base. To sort of reduce your risk drastically and potentially not getting into cryptocurrencies which might have no intrinsic value in the future. Right? That is one. And second is, as I said, always invest with a long-term view, because in the short term, the markets can go up and down real fast because it's a very volatile, a very early stage market. So always come in with a long-term view. And third, again, a similar one: do not time the markets. Right? You cannot really time the market. Trust me, I've tried to do it for the last 4 years. I've never been successful, and it is very difficult to do that. Right? So keep investing regularly in a systematic fashion, which is where at CoinDCX we are trying to also create products which help you sort of do that, right? Where you can automate your investments as well in crypto, and very soon we will be out with that. But yeah, that's the sort of idea, right? Start with top assets, invest regularly, and invest with a long-term view.
Yeah.
Yes, the risk is very high, but at the same time, in the long term, your rewards can be also really high, right? So it's a very growing asset class. That's how, instead of just looking at risk absolutely, it is great to look good, or good to look at the return over risk in a long term view.
So, so adding to that, I mean, I have question coming up in my mind. I mean, we know that stock prices moves because there are some announcements, some financial reports coming up every quarter, every year. But how does the prices of crypto move? I mean, what are the factors that come into picture?
Hmm. Yeah, I think this is also an interesting one. A lot of friends also keep asking the same. I think there are definitely some sort of core or core data points or core principles which are native to crypto, right? For example, how many active wallets are there on the Bitcoin network, how many transactions that are happening on the Bitcoin network, and so on and so forth. But I think even if you're new to crypto, right, you can start thinking of Bitcoin or Ethereum as a business. You can start looking at how much revenue. Am I audible clearly? There is seems to be some
Yes,
internet
yes, we
issue.
can hear you.
Okay, so just one can think of Bitcoin or Ethereum as a decentralized business, right? So you have these reports which are coming out, which basically say that Ethereum has generated $18 billion of revenue in cumulative fees across the last year, right? That itself speaks about the potential turnover of the Ethereum network in the current form. Now you can also estimate what can be the growth potential of Ethereum as a network in the next 2 to 3 years, and then sort of do a projection with respect to market cap over revenue ratio in the next in let's say the next 3 to 4 years. Then using that, you can also sort of try and come back to a Ethereum price depending on the total supply of the Ethereum in the market, right? So I think it's all about just using the existing frameworks and models that we have in mind and sort of apply that to crypto assets as well. Another example that I would like to share is about Bitcoin. So very similar to we spoke about Ethereum being sort of a decentralized business. If we start thinking about Bitcoin as a store of value asset, and if we believe that the potential of Bitcoin is that it can become equivalent to gold, which is let's say a 12 to 13 trillion dollar market cap, where Bitcoin is 1 trillion. You can easily say that Bitcoin, in terms of market cap, has the potential to go 10x from here. And then you can again translate that back to what can be the Bitcoin price. I think that will come down to about 500K, 10x from here. And you sort of, then make your investment decisions accordingly. Right. So I think it's all about sort of using the existing models and the frameworks you have, and then just sort of translating them into crypto businesses, if I may use that word.
Yeah, that's great insights. I mean,
Yes. So I think we don't have any more questions from the audience. So to the audience, if you have any questions, maybe we can take it up. We can spare maybe 2 more minutes. But also in the meantime, please to interact with all the polls that we had put up. Yes, so with that, I think we can hear the concluding remarks from both the speakers. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for giving us so much knowledge. So, Mr. Vinal, any concluding remarks?
No, thank you for having me, Kartika. Great interacting with you, Manish. I think, as I said, we are in a great sort of shape when it comes to the evolution of crypto as a space. I always feel grateful that I have the opportunity to witness it firsthand, sort of see the entire sort of trajectory of the crypto growth in the country. And I think the future is bright. I think with the advent of a lot of regulatory and taxation coming out, I think it is going to be very exciting times in crypto. And yeah, I mean, more than happy to sort of help folks start the investment journey on CoinDCX and also help them learn more about crypto on DCX Learn. And I think, yeah, with that, I would thank you again, Karthik and Manish, for having me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vinal. Manish, if you would like to add something.
Yeah, thanks, Minal. And I mean, these were great insights. I mean, I have been trading in crypto from last 5 years, but after listening you, I will now start trading wisely and also start monitoring and not going for short-term gains, but try investing for my future and a long-term gain. And definitely, I will open up an account on
And yeah, and
CoinDCX also. I mean, I have
exactly.
been on WazirX and Bayucoin, but this inspires me, and I'll be one of your users soon on CoinDCX.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Thanks. Okay, so yes, definitely, I learned a lot in this session. Crypto was definitely something, a session that I was looking very forward to. So thank you so much, Mr. Minal, for all the insights. Thank you so much, Manish, for pitching in and asking the right questions. And of course, thank you so much to the audience. It was a very interactive session. I would say a lot of questions came in. So I hope all the audience are happy with the answers that we've given. So yeah, with that, I don't see any more questions coming in. So I think we can wrap the session up. All right. Thank you
All
so
right.
much to both the speakers. Thank you so much
thank
to
you.
the Square team. And last but not the least, thank you to the audience. See you. Have a nice day.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.